Let's go with Dr. Delio. Could you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Why not?
Nothing better you'd rather do, right?
Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Can I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we have nothing to report out of closed session. Staff presentation and information, we do not have anything to do with. Oral communications, I have a whole stack of cards. Oh, very good. That facilitates me to read this. The Board of Education welcomes input from the public in order to discuss district business in an orderly manner for the privacy and safety of speakers and to help staff respond more directly. The board policies require the public presentation of the board comply with certain procedures, including speakers to non-agenda items may address only items that are within the subject matter jurisdiction of the board. Time allotted for such presentations is limited to 3 minutes. Total time allotted for public input on non-agenda items is limited to 30 minutes. A speaker may not relinquish his or her time to another. When addressing the board, speakers are requested to state their name, address the president from the podium, and adhere to the applicable time limits. Complaints against employees or students will normally be heard in closed session, and the district complaint procedure will be followed with the board. The board may remove disruptive individuals and order the room cleared if necessary. Any person who willfully disturbs any public school meeting is guilty of a misdemeanor. All the time I've been doing this, we never had to throw anybody out.
Not yet.
Go ahead, Emily, this is your chance. Let me go ahead and start at the top here. Kathy Kelly. And on deck is Lenore Landis.
Good evening, Board, Dr. Mannon, and admins. I'm here to address you tonight on the It is considered a non-teaching day, October 9th of the school year of 2019-2020. I know I'm a little bit early, but I thought we need to discuss this day. This day is actually Yom Kippur, and I'm here for Chapter 845, CSEA also. And we believe that this is a Jewish holiday, and to call it a non-instruction day is a slap in the face to the Jewish community. Redondo Beach gets paid for both Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. This holiday is going to move every year, so it's going to affect the classified staff differently every year. So if you're going to make it Yom Kippur, let's just call it that. It's a holiday, and you need to pay us for it. It's just like Christmas. It's one of the Jewish holidays. So I'm here just to ask you to reconsider what you're going to call this day and respect all of our Jewish community here in Torrance. Thank you.
Lenore Landis.
Hi, good evening. President Vormers, board members, cabinet members. My name is Lenore Landis, and I'm the mother of 2 TUSD students, and I'm the chemistry department chair at Cypress College. Since I learned about the presence of modified hydrofluoric acid at the Torrance refinery, I have been worried about my children's safety. MHF is an extremely hazardous chemical used at only 2 California refineries. The Torrance refinery has 250,000 pounds on site. If released, MHF will form a ground-hugging cloud that can travel and remain toxic for long distances. MHF is absorbed easily and deeply into body tissue. Even at low concentrations, it can cause irreversible injury and even death. All exposures will require specialized treatment, and washing with water is not good enough. The 2015 explosion caused an 80,000-pound duct to crash down just 5 feet from the MHF tank, nearly causing mass casualties. the Chemical Safety Board classified it as a near miss. For decades, the refinery has claimed that MHF is much safer than hydrofluoric acid. Yet the scientists from the Air Quality Management District, the AQMD, said that they cannot prove their safety claims. And that also mitigations do not guarantee adequate protection from a major accident like in 2015 or a major earthquake. In the event of a MHF release, the TUSD shelter-in-place plan states to tape around the doors, windows, and vents. Many teachers cannot carry out this plan. As you know, a significant number of classrooms have 6 large upper windows that can't be reached without a ladder. And then on the other side, another 6 large windows. Then there's the vents and a door that need to be taped securely. Even if the teachers had the proper equipment, and they don't, they couldn't do this. They couldn't possibly do this with enough time. And please understand, I know that the schools were built long before the hydrofluoric acid came, right, which was in 1966. So schools just are not designed to properly shelter in place. My children are only 5 and 8, and they just can't protect themselves. So when I drop them off at school in the morning, it's up to you. It's your responsibility to keep them safe. So please know that MHF is an unnecessary risk when there are safe and affordable alternatives. The refineries will recover, but the health and the lives of children can never be replaced. So parents can't seem to influence the AQMD, but please, I'm asking you to write a letter to the AQMD to support a ban within 4 years. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Sally Hayati?
Hello, good evening. My name is Sally Hayati. I live in Torrance, and I'm the grandmother of one current and one future TUSD student. I want to encourage you to support our community's effort to get hydrofluoric acid at the refinery replaced with a safe alternative. I have bachelor's and master's of science degrees from UC Berkeley, where I studied general, organic, and physical chemistry. I have a PhD in engineering from USC. I spent my career at the Aerospace Corporation. HF is notoriously similar to a chemical that killed 25,000 and permanently maimed 500,000 people in Bhopal in 1984. HF units have been identified by many studies as a likely source for a similarly catastrophic accident in the U.S. The risks in California are even higher than in other states due to very high population density that makes large-scale evacuation impossible and puts far more people at risk. On top of that, large quakes are predicted for our area, which also holds much interest for terrorists. This is why only 2 out of 10 California alky units use HF. A study by 8 South Bay scientists and engineers, including myself, has shown that modified HF, or MHF, used in California is as deadly as HF. Investigations by experts at 3 government agencies have been consistent with that conclusion. But the decision on what to do is not up to the experts, it's up to politicians and ultimately the public itself. I am a member of the Rule 1410 Working Group, and I see that political appointees on the AQMD board need a louder and clearer message from all sectors of the public demanding they put safety first, because industry pressure to put profits first are drowning out the expert advice to act now in order to avoid disaster later. School districts are responsible for the safety of the most vulnerable and precious members of our community, of our public, our children. It is impossible for the district to adequately protect children from an HF release. Shelter in place is better than nothing, but is woefully inadequate at such short distances from the unit, even if there were sufficient time to tape plastic sheets over windows and doors, which there won't be. Please write a letter to the AQMD supporting a Rule 1410 that mandates MHF replacement with a safe alternative within 4 years. Thank you. And if, I don't know if this is allowed or not, but I have something I'd like to provide to the board.
Certainly, please.
Who do I
Please.
hand it to?
They'll pass it up for you. Thank you. Jonas Henry, am I saying the first name properly? You Mr. Henry? Yes, please, I'm sorry, I didn't see your name properly. James, I'm sorry, James Henry.
Hello, my name is James Henry. I'm a North Torrance City resident. I graduated from North Torrance High School 49 years ago. I don't know whether this matter should be discussed at this time, but I'd like to discuss the potential sale of the Hamilton Adult School property and girls softball fields. And I have a question. Before the property known as the Hamilton Adult Center and girls softball fields can be leased, is it required to be rezoned as a multifamily residential zone by the city of Torrance? Yes or no?
It's not our practice to respond to questions.
Okay. And if it is, why is this matter of leasing this property being discussed by the school board before the city of Torrance has approved rezoning of the property? Thank you.
Mr. Henry, what I can do is give you, if you've got an email address, I can give you a rundown about the whole process that's been going on for several months. Moving on. Oh, here, thank you. We are now in discussion action items. Instructions to the public. Speakers wishing to address the board on agenda topics are permitted 3 minutes per topic. Total time granted for public input should be limited to 30 minutes per topic. The board policies require that public presentation to the board comply with certain procedures, including items 2 through 4 listed in oral communications. 10.2, call for nominations for California School Board Association's directors at large for Asian/Pacific Islander and Hispanic. And here we go again. Do we have anybody we want to nominate? Mark's not here. We could nominate Mark. He's not here to defend himself.
It always reminds me, when I first got elected to the school board, there's an Asian Pacific Islanders Association of School Board Members. And I started getting letters from them. And I just, okay, throw them away. Literally, I got an angry letter from them that I was ignoring them. And I had to explain that, no, I believe my Lee is different than the Lee you think it is.
Okay, so apparently we're not going to nominate someone.
That's good.
Moving on to 10.3, approve the excused absence of board member.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I'd like to abstain, please.
Okay. 10.4, approve the unaudited actual financial statements for fiscal year 2017-2018 and approve revisions to the 2018-2019 ending fund balances. Dr. Stowe with Ms. Chai.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay.
Thank you, board members. As we wait for the projector to come up, I do want to take a moment to thank Judy Chai, who's here, and all of her staff for the diligent work that they go through, not just at the end of the year closing the books, but throughout the year monitoring on a daily basis where we are with regard to our financials. It's quite a bit with a district of over 3,000 employees and 24,000 students to monitor all the expenditures on a regular basis, and they do it very, very well. So as we, can I have the, can you grab the keyboard for me, please? Sorry about that.
Oops.
Thank you. So as we look at the unaudited actuals, comparing that to the estimated that was in the budget of last year. We actually ended up in a favorable position of $1.3 million based on the budget from last June and the unaudited actual expenditures. So the primary reason, over about half of that, was additional one-time money that we received after the budget was adopted last year. So that is, we're deficit spending less last year, but again, a big chunk of that is one-time funds that we received after the budget had been adopted by the board. Obviously, the ending fund balance, beginning and ending match, and that you can see $37 million as an ending fund balance on the estimate. The next slide here, the different components that we take a look at. The revolving cash is, obviously the difference is zero. We monitor that very, very tightly with the schools, and in fact are using less of that because of purchasing procedures that we've put in place. Stores, we had a little bit more in the warehouse at the end of the year than we typically do. Schools ordered a lot of things toward the end of the year with the number of sites that we had under construction and some money that we had to, that schools were trying to expend, that we had received it, but yet not delivered it out to schools. And so with those 7 schools that were under modernization, the warehouse just didn't get those out to schools. But that number is pretty consistent with where we've been the last few years, and we are looking to decrease that number because we want to be able to order just in time. And again, we're making some changes in our processes in order to have direct shipment to schools, so that we're not keeping products in the warehouse maybe that have a shelf life or that aren't used on a regular basis. Some components of the ending fund balance are funds that we've committed for student achievement. These are primarily dollars that we've given out to schools on an annual basis. If you remember, we allocate $10 per student to the school for student achievement funds. Textbooks and one-time expenses. Again, the difference here are those one-time funds that we received late, as well as some money that we're setting aside for textbooks, because we're expecting to do 2 textbook adoptions in the next couple of years. So we need to make sure that we have enough money committed for those purposes. 2 years ago, when we did the English language arts adoption for K-8, I think that cost was about $3 million. So a textbook adoption for science and social studies would run a good $2 million each. So you can see a primary reason for keeping that at that number, $4 million, is for textbook adoptions. And then the funds that are committed for targeted student groups, those are the supplemental funds that we receive and allocate out to schools or keep centrally to fund programs that increase or improve services for our targeted students. And so that variance there from what we said we'd do to what we actually did is small, and that's all detailed in the local control accountability plan that's approved by the board every June. And finally, the reserve for economic uncertainty, you can see change to the favorable, $211,000, a paltry 0.14%. So this just, again, is another indication of the quality of work done in our accounting department to make sure that what we're projecting is actually what happens. And then finally, we will continue to negotiate with our bargaining units, and then in December, bring you the first interim financial report to be adopted.
Any questions concerning this? It's almost dark and Judy Chai's here. This is our chance. So if there's any questions, this is our chance.
I know where to find her in the office.
Very good. All right. So all those in favor? Aye. We've now reached the ever-popular consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve consent items 12, 13, 14, 15, with the exception of 15.5, 16, 17, 18.
Second.
I need to pull 15.3 for Julie Schenkel. So, everything,
Okay, then I amend my motion to 15.5 and 15.3.
Second.
you second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, let's start with Ms. Schenkel on 15.3, please. Good evening.
Good evening, members of the board. Julie Schenkel, Torrance Teachers Association, and English teacher at North High School. First off, I want to say I was sort of happy to see Kelly Gallagher's name on the list. Kelly Gallagher's sort of a rock star in the English teacher world, and I was very pleased to see that Torrance would bring somebody of such caliber to our district to work with our teachers. But I have been peppered with questions all day today about, we can afford X, but they can't afford to give us a raise. And so I just wanted to, I was curious how much it costs to bring Mr. Gallagher to our district.
Thank you, Julie. And one of the reasons that I think Kelly Gallagher is coming is because it's been a request, like we had Sarah Ahmed that you participated in this summer. He's $1,000 to come out for the day and work with the teachers. I think there's 2 proposed days there for $2,000. But this funding is out of Title II, which is specific federal categorical money only for professional development of our teachers and staff. So it's being funded specifically out of the Title II professional development budget.
Thank you. Now I can answer that question.
Thanks, Julie.
Thank you.
Move to approve.
Second.
All those in favor on 15.3?
Aye.
15.5, approval for Torrance Unified School District to enter into a memorandum of understanding with Sandy Hook Promise Programs.
Yeah, actually, I'm glad Julie introduced hers by saying she was pleased to see it, and the item that she was talking about. And I'm similarly pleased to see this, because I know that there's been a lot of work actually involved with getting us connected with Sandy Hook and doing something with regards to that. I've heard of interest from parents at various levels and from administrators too. So I just wanted to get some information about exactly how this is going to roll out for us and how much involvement we're all going to be able to see from the Sandy Hook Promise folks.
Yeah, thank you, Mrs. Reagans. We're really excited that with the approval tonight of the Memorandum of Understanding to form a relationship with Sandy Hook Organization. They are a nonprofit. The work that they bring and the services that they provide are at no charge to any school district in the nation, which is pretty phenomenal. We have been working really hard with them to bring a number of programs into place. This year, the focus is on 6-12, and they're going to start in the month of September with assemblies entitled Start With Hello. And it's the beginning of a social, emotional, and work with making our young people very aware of who their classmates are and starting that discussion. It comes with a promise on our end that each school has a club that is focused on Start With Hello. It doesn't have to be a new club, it can be an existing club. My understanding is that some sites could have done this on their own already and had small pieces going. Richardson Middle School actually participated last year, and it was their student council that were the sponsors of this club. So their focus is on sustainability. We're going to be working at the elementary level with our counselors that you approved, thank you, for an additional day a week out of our supplemental funding for the LCAP, that will be working with the middle schools at what appropriate information can we then take and developmentally bring down into the elementary level. As Sandy Hook doesn't provide that first assembly and initiative at the elementary level. There are others. I won't go into them all tonight, but there is suicide prevention and risk assessment and See Something, Say Something. And we look forward to bringing a presentation to you after we have started some of the work and having some of the schools report back on how well it's going.
Cool.
Mrs. Deutsch?
Dr. Crumpy, I just had a question about how is this going to be communicated to the parents?
So once we, each school site is going to start with an assembly. And so as we get that initial information and that initial packet of communication, we're working with Tammy Kahn, who's going to come out, and we're going to push that information out with the public. Via our social media, but also the work that the school sites are doing. And I think once we actually get a really good picture of or have participated, we'll have a better idea of then what we want to bring forward to our parents and our parent support groups.
Thank you.
Well, and I get the feeling, in looking at the Sandy Hook things, that this is an outgrowth from their tragedy, and they're trying just to make people more aware of the socio-emotional issues that are going on campus and how to support our students. I think they actually have materials and handouts and, in fact, parent involvement pieces that we can, build into it, so.
I believe you're correct. Yeah.
So. That's great. Good. All right, thank you. I'm excited to see that begin, too. It's really neat.
All those, I'm sorry.
Go ahead. I was just going to say move to approve, but go ahead.
Go ahead.
Move to approve, yeah.
Second.
All those in favor of 15.5?
Aye.
We have now moved to, there's a board calendar, 19.1, and comments from members of the Board of Education. The Southern California Regional Occupation Center, SoCal ROC, is not met. We're due to meet on the 20th. I expect it to be a rather interesting report when I come back on the 20th, because there's some things going on in the background that will produce some interesting responses. So I'll leave it at that. Nothing like dangling it out there and letting it tease everybody.
Good segue.
Cliffhanger.
Start with you, Mrs. Reagan.
Okay, I have two things I wanted to share. One of the items in the consent agenda was a resolution in support of Hispanic Heritage Month from September 15th to October 15th. And the first line is kind of daunting, whereas the state of California is home for 2.2 million Hispanic students from grades kindergarten through 12th. And we have a large contingency of Hispanic folks in our district, and enjoy the month. There's wonderful things that are going on during this month. And I do have classified anniversaries that I wanted to talk about. The following employees have completed accredited service and reached anniversary increments of 10 years to begin with. The first one is Larry Chambers. That name might be familiar to some of us. And Adolfo Herrera. For 15 years of accredited service, thank you very much, we have Elisa Gonzalez, Maria Grajeda, and Elena Vabornik. And for 20 years of accredited service, these folks have been with us for a long time, Betty Mahalka and Cheryl Nesselrode. Thank you for your service to our students and for keeping our schools running. And that's it, thank you.
Mrs. Deutsch.
I just wanted to add regarding the Sandy Hook Promise, I'm excited to see what in fruition in September, how that's going to go. I'm really excited about that. That's it.
Mr. Lee.
Summertime is gone. Kids go back to school, and I was walking around going, it finally feels like fall.
Oh, tonight?
Yeah, it's kind of what it is. But anyway, no, nothing huge here. That's it.
That's it? Okay, well, the fortnight detoxification begins Thursday morning about 9, so I hope our students are prepared for that. If anyone's out there, I can fill you in on what that is later if you'd like to know. It's a game. It's a video game that a lot of children play.
I wasn't even going, okay. Now I know.
And how old are we that I have to tell everyone what this game is?
Okay, so.
Yes.
It's a video game a lot of boys will play, boys and girls will play, and they play a lot of it, and I have a nephew that plays it in constantly, and I could not enjoy more the fact that when he went back to school, he almost went through detox, so. But it does begin Thursday morning at 9.
Yes, it does.
If there's no other comments, I look for a motion for adjournment.
We have in honor of.
Right, I was going to read that out. Adjournment in memory of retired elementary school teacher Mary Agnes Barrett. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right.
And it's still 2:30.